Grief, One Day at a Time, 365 Meditations to Help You Heal After Loss by Alan D. Wolfett, PhD. October 21st. What a wonderful life I've had. I only wish I'd realized it sooner. A quote from Sidonie Gabriel Colette. We're dying, you and I. We're all of us dying, and sooner or later, our lives here on earth too will be over. On our deathbeds, I suspect that our grief will shift. We'll have a new found perspective. Not only will we have the forward looking hope that we will soon be reunited with our precious people who have died, but we'll also have the backward looking gratitude for the wonderful loves we were privileged to share. I've sat at the deathbeds of several people I was close to, and while they expressed a range of thoughts and feelings, their predominant wish was to use their few remaining days to tell the stories of their lives. Those stories included the deaths of the people they loved. It's true, but mostly the stories focused on the lives of the people they loved and the time they got to spend together. The dying have something to teach us about grieving. The meditation reads, "Today and tomorrow and the day after, I will try to realize what a wonderful life I have." October 22nd. She experienced a moment of incandescent wonder, a sense of being connected, not just to these people, but to everyone and everything alive. Every beating heart, every fluttering wing, every green shoot thrusting itself up out of the earth, seeking as she was the sun. A quote from Hillary Jordan. We want to feel connected to our lives here on earth. We want to feel the wonder of love and life. Trouble is, our feeling of disconnectedness from the person who died is often stronger. In deep grief, we experience the tug of loss more powerfully than the pull of life. This is normal and natural. We must learn to come to terms with and accommodate the loss before we can turn our faces to the sun. We are connected to everyone and everything alive, though. I also believe we are connected to everyone who has died. Saying yes to opportunities to strengthen and expand our feelings of connectedness helps us not only to survive our grief, it prepares the soil of our lives for richer days ahead. The meditation reads, I am connected to everyone and everything. October 23rd. Loneliness expresses the pain of being alone, and solitude expresses the glory of being alone. A quote from Paul Tillich. The loneliness of being without someone, especially someone who had been a part of our daily lives, is especially hard to cope with. As human beings, we generally depend on companionship. When our companion is taken from us, our everyday routines are ripped in two. Loneliness hurts. To counteract our loneliness, we must find ways to reach out to others. We can establish new routines of spending time with friends, family members, neighbors, fellow volunteers, work colleagues, like-minded hobbyists, and other people with whom we have things in common. Not only does working on connection quell our loneliness, it also provides us with listening ears for the expression of our grief. But solitude is also necessary in grief. We need the stillness of alone time to feel our feelings and think our thoughts, to slow down and to turn inward. We must sometimes cultivate solitude. Being alone is not the curse we may have been making it out to be. It is actually a blessing. After all, we are born alone and we die alone. We are each by ourselves a child of God. The meditation reads, I will work on both connecting with others and being okay with solitude. October 24th. You can close your eyes to the things you don't want to see, but you can't close your heart to the things you don't want to feel. A quote from Johnny Depp. Our hearts are wise. They know our deepest truths. When we don't want to feel our grief, we may be able to distract ourselves for a time. We can numb ourselves. We can deny. Such evasions are necessary for our survival sometimes, but they are always temporary measures. Because we let love in, our hearts now experience grief. We opened our hearts to love, and so we cannot close them to grief. The grief lives inside our hearts alongside the love. The work that lies before us now is the day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year befriending of our grief. Acknowledge it, embrace it, accommodate it, express it, and reconcile it. We must. The meditation reads, I cannot close my heart to my grief. It's already in there, demanding my attention. October 25th. There are two kinds of people. One kind you can just tell by looking at them at what point they congealed into their final selves, whereas the other kind keeps moving, changing. They are fluid. They keep moving forward and making new trysts with life, and the motion of it keeps them young. In my opinion, they are the only people who are still alive. You must be constantly on your guard against congealing. A quote from Gail Godwin. Some people get congealed in grief. Someone who means the world to them dies, and they get stuck. They become mired in the mud of their loss, and they sit down and give up. Now, don't get me wrong. It's normal and necessary for all of us to wallow in our grief for a while. The only way out is through. We have to feel it to heal it. But two things prevent us from congealing: actively expressing our grief and nurturing our hope. Mourning is grief in motion. It's the motion that prevents the wet concrete of our grief from hardening us into place. And nurturing our hope means trying our darndest to believe that good and loving things await us in our futures. Mourning and hoping, they keep us truly alive. The meditation reads, I do not want to congeal in grief, so I will keep moving. I will actively mourn and I will actively hope. October 26th. Don't be discouraged. It's often the last key in the bunch that opens the lock. Author unknown. We can think of the actions we take to express our grief or mourn as keys on a giant keyring. We encounter a locked door and we try a key. Let's say the door that's blocking our way today is anger. We're so mad at the person who died, at the circumstances of the death, at ourselves, etc. It's normal and necessary for us to feel our anger if it keeps coming up for us, but we also need to express it outside ourselves. So we try fitting one of the keys on our key ring into the lock. Maybe the first key we try is labeled scream. We go into a private room and we rage and yell our anger out loud for as long as we feel like it. Then we see how we feel. If we're still really angry, we might try other keys, such as those labeled journal or art. If our anger starts to soften, if the locked door starts to open, we know we've found a key that works for us, at least for today. The meditation reads, "My key ring is full of keys. Every day I'm going to try to find the keys that open today's locks." October 27th. Give crayons. Adults are disturbingly impoverished of these magical dream sticks. A quote from Dr. Sunwolf. Let's always keep in mind that grief in motion is grief on the way to healing. Drawing, coloring, and created art of any kind are all ways to put our grief into motion. Have you been following the adult coloring book craze? You can now choose from hundreds of coloring books in different styles depicting myriad subjects. The idea is that the process of coloring in a pleasing and often complicated design is calming. It requires mindfulness. It's essentially a form of meditation, especially if you're someone who has ever liked to draw, doodle, or color. I encourage you to pick up an adult coloring book and give it a try. You may find the gentle, repetitive physical motion entrancing. The magical dream sticks just might transport you and your grief to a more peaceful place. The meditation reads, I think I'll try coloring or drawing, playing with modeling clay, painting, etc. today as a way to give motion to my grief. Please share, subscribe, like, and remember that you are not alone.